Hello, welcome to Swapping Joysticks. It is a very special episode. I am Ben Ostwick, and I am joined, as always,
by me, Ed Knights, or Ed Nightingale, if you want to be formal.
Yeah, if you're nasty. And who is the other person on that screen?
We are joined with a special guest this time, which is very exciting. We have with us Dom's Roundtable. Hi, Dom.
Hello, how's it going?
We are doing very well. How are you doing?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You are more than welcome.
So polite this is.
I know, it's very polite.
Very British.
Yeah, it really is.
For anyone watching or listening, you might be like, well, what does Dom's Roundtable do? But the name might be a suggestion here that you are an Elden Ring streamer. But also, well, not just streamer. You do YouTube channel stuff and all Souls, right? You've played a ton of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, nowadays I like to consider myself more of a variety channel, but Souls is definitely what most people know me for. And if you don't mind me going off on a super quick tangent already,
Please do.
actually,
Go for it.
the Roundtable bit, completely separate to Elden Ring. It was a really happy coincidence.
Oh.
I love lore and legend and myth, and I've always loved the idea of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and that's where it came from. And then and at the time I wasn't even covering Elden Ring. I really like medieval things, and my main game that I was covering at the time was Mountain Blade, so Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord.
Oh yeah.
Medieval themed, no specific references to the Round Table, but still that kind of aesthetic. And then Elden Ring came out. I was actually planning on just covering that for me, like just playing that for me, not even covering it. I thought, you know what, I've played this game a lot over its opening week, a lot. So I'll upload a video covering like some of the secrets and things you may have missed in Limgrave. And it blew up, and I thought, okay, I'll carry on doing this then. And then, yeah, the Round Table, that was just a happy coincidence.
So I'm completely wrong.
Yeah, well, are you also a fan of, Monty Python, Knights of the Round?
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I get my name.
I was going to say, you've got biggest Bennett here.
That is my name.
Oh, God, of course. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Also, my boss's boss trying to explain where that comes from. That was quite interesting. Yeah. Literally like one below the CEO, and I'm there like, yeah, biggest Bennett is my username, and it's from Monty Python, but we won't say where. Obviously, different film, but yeah.
So yeah, Dom and I met a few weeks ago at the preview for Elden Ring Nightreign, which was a lot of fun, and we were on the same team, and we got on, and I was like, you need to join us on the podcast to talk about Souls, because you're an expert, so we need to get you in.
No, Ed just wants to talk about Souls with somebody that knows about Souls, because he...
Wow. But you don't just play Souls, you play other things as well. I know you are currently streaming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and also you're planning on playing some Monster Hunter.
I am. My first dip into Monster Hunter, actually.
Yeah.
So I could always do some pros to help me out if either of you are.
I'll find one for you.
Particularly.
If I find one, I'll put them in touch with you.
Okay, great.
No, I've literally got tomorrow, or when this goes out will actually be today. I've got the whole day off because I'm like, you know what? I'll just play it all day. I did that with Rise, which was the last one, and had a blast. It is a really, really fun game. And I think it is an action RPG, I suppose, because you kind of, you kind of play the role of whichever kind of weapon you have, but also you can base your armor on whichever your play style it suits. So there's definitely elements of it. Would you guys say it's an RPG?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. I think you'll love it. Dom. But we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with you and YouTube and content creation? Like when did you start that, and why? How did you get into that?
Oh, great question. Thank you. Yeah. So I have been doing it as a hobby for about 5 years now. And I went full time. Actually, weirdly, it'll be 3 years in just a couple of days. It'll be 3 years full time, because it was literally just after Elden Ring released, and it just had its 3rd anniversary, didn't it? So yeah, I was just doing it basically because I think, like a lot of people, I got started with this during lockdown. We all had so much more time on our hands, and I've always been particularly I don't like doing nothing. I hate doing nothing. So I've always preferred playing games over watching telly, because I get really bored watching telly. And
You've got a kindred
then
spirit here.
Literally,
really,
I can't watch films. I literally will stop and just
no,
walk
right,
out.
yeah. And it's not out of boredom. I don't know. I just get frustrated. I feel so like I want to be doing something. Um, so yeah, I had so much more time on my hands throughout lockdown. Like I didn't get furloughed or anything, but I had a long commute, which I no longer had to do anymore. Um, and I just thought just playing games in my spare time isn't enough for me now. I want to be doing something more. I want to be being productive. And I thought, well, I get a lot more time on video games than most people do. So the games that I'm interested in, I probably have a lot more expertise than most people. So I thought, let's just start making some guides and see what happens. And yeah, Bannerlord did pretty well for me. I actually covered some Dead by Daylight before that. And then yeah, Elden Ring was the big one that just blew up. People absolutely loved that. And that's what allowed me to go full time just a couple of months later.
Was Elden Ring your first Souls game?
Uh, Personally, no.
Right.
I'd 100% in Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, Bloodborne, like
Just
Demon
casual,
Souls.
you know.
Yeah. But like I don't know, like I was always kind of intimidated to do it as content because I knew how passionate the Souls community were.
Oh yes.
Yeah, yeah. For better or for worse, there's pros and cons about the community being that passionate. But then doing my Mountain Blade Bannerlord content, that has an incredibly passionate community as well. Like they are brutally honest with you, which again is both a blessing and a curse. And I thought if I can like cope with this, I can cope with the Souls community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just wait till the Monster Hunter. I don't know if you're going to be doing like
Oh.
that kind of those guides and stuff for Monster Hunter, but oh my god, I didn't even subscribe to the subreddit, but there is a Monster Hunter Worlds subreddit that is just full of people complaining about tourists, because of people playing this for the first time. Because apparently that's bad. You shouldn't play it. You should play a series from the very beginning.
That's literally what they want. Every game,
Yeah.
they're trying to make it easier for newcomers. So like, deal with it.
It's the worst actually I've found for communities is the Destiny 2 one. Because I'm a big Destiny 2 fan, but we've all come to realize that the game is quite bad now. And, and some of us have acknowledged it, and some are still clinging on to the hope that it might one day be good, but no.
So Elden Ring then was predominantly guide content then?
Yeah. I mean, basically, the basis of my channel has always been I really want to, like, that's why I tend to focus on Souls likes and harder games, because I want to make gaming more accessible for everyone. So many of my favorite games are really tough, and a lot of people are scared to try. And Monster Hunter, by the sounds of it, fits that niche perfectly.
Yeah.
So I want to make easy to understand guides so that people who don't have as much time on their hands can jump into these more difficult games. It's like, I've done the legwork for you. I've done all the tedious research and like the groundwork. And now here's a lovely 15-minute guide that's going to help you like get to grips with this area or this boss or this weapon. And you can now play these games that might have scared you off otherwise.
What makes you, because it's really interesting, and I think there'll be many people watching who are also like content creators, and they want to create these kind of things for their favorite games or games that they're really passionate about. How do you decide what to include in a video? Like, is it something that you've struggled with, or do you go and research what people are searching? Like, how do you decide?
Good question. It honestly, it varies from game to game. It varies massively, and also like just like any job, you learn. So like the decisions I've made aren't necessarily the correct decisions. Like I've made a hell of a lot of f ups. In
You can swear
throughout.
fine if you like.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So yeah, I basically I've actually Monster Hunter coming out tomorrow is a great example of having to decide what to cover first and what I want to focus on. So I literally went to one of my friends who's got thousands of hours in all the Monster Hunter games combined, and I said, can you give me, in your opinion, the top 3 most used weapons and the top 3 least used weapons, so I know like what's going to be best to focus on first, what will help out the most people initially.
Yeah.
And so like that's a good place to start for Monster Hunter for me. And like with Elden Ring, I was like, well, most people probably aren't going to make it past Stormvale. So Limgrave and
Mm.
Stormvale, that's what I should make my focus on. So I made my guides centered around like, okay, here's the top things you should do in the west of Limgrave, and here's the top like things you should do in West Limgrave, and here's top things you do in Stormvale. So like the top 10 rare items you should find that are going to help get you past Margit and get you past Godric. So yeah, it's basically thinking of like these beginner guides that are going to assist the largest group of people being able to break through and get to the point where they can start to enjoy the game and understand the game.
That must be great seeing comments of people that maybe that's their first ever. Like Elden Ring was the first Souls game I finished, or at least the first one I got. Even I did finish it, but also it's the first one I got like more than about 5 hours in. So, how nice is it seeing the comments when people are like, "Hey, thank you so much. This has really helped me. I've never played a Souls game before, and now I can kind of understand it."
And does that help with it being a positive community when it can be quite?
Oh
toxic?
yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing is I was always told that the Souls community can be quite toxic, or maybe a better word is like elitist.
Mm.
But I think it depends the community you're coming into. Like I get nothing but love in my comments. I do not see the toxic side of the community. I do not see the elitists at all. And I guess it's because like my community doesn't attract that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the positive comments are what keeps me going. Definitely what keeps me going, because there are days, there are videos where it can get real nasty in YouTube comments and it can be heartbreaking. And I've always been a very emotional, passionate person. I wear my heart on my sleeve, whereas my wife, thank God, is made of stone when it comes to stuff like this. So she will read through the comments for me. She'll take out the obvious trolls that I would still let get under my skin anyway, even though they are trolls. And then I get to look at this lovely curated list of people that care about the channel and want to thank me for what I'm doing. And that's what I live for. Like all of my jobs before I started doing YouTube as a career have all been customer facing and face to face, because I just adore helping people out. It's like genuinely my favorite thing. I get such a rush from it. So reading comments that I have helped someone, it's like genuine. Yeah, that's good.
It's also interesting hearing what you were saying about the sort of strategizing and planning of early stages of a game, because I don't write guides for Eurogamer. I've done a couple, but I've sort of obviously know the guides team and sort of their thought process, and it's very similar. Of even with Monster
Really?
Hunter, it's thinking, okay, what kind of coverage do we want to do? What are the most important points to hit?
Yep.
What do we need to do early? You want to focus on the early game at the beginning, and then you've got more time to do late game as people get to it. And just what's the most difficult thing? And even when I was playing games early for coverage or review, I've also been thinking in the back of my mind, okay, well what might be a good guide for that? So with Shadow of the Erdtree, it's like, okay, well, all the fragments, where do we find those? So every time I find a fragment, take a screenshot of the map and send it over. So then we've got a big list of them all, and I'm sort of chipping in with things like that. And that's a lot to take on yourself on your own for a YouTube channel, when other places have got an entire team doing that, and you're here making videos on your own. Like that's a lot of work. I imagine.
It is. Yeah. Oh, it really is. Like, especially if I don't get early access to games, which is still very hit and miss, because like depending on the company, some companies are a lot more responsive to content creators than others. So yeah, it can be very hard to get an early code. And if I don't, like I don't want to try and like make people think YouTube's the hardest job in the world. I still get to do. It's my favorite thing. It's absolutely incredible. I love it. But I'm working 16-hour days, 7 days a week, most of the time. Like it's a lot of time and effort. And then when you look at your paycheck at the end of the month, you're like, okay, that's more than I'd have got at an office job. But then if you look at it as an hourly rate, it's abysmal. It's abysmal, because I am working 100+ hours a week. But it's what I do, so I don't mind it. But it is very, very challenging mentally. Like, oh, it's insane.
That was wild. I remember once I did. It was. I don't know if you remember. How long have you been streaming on Twitch?
About 5 years, yeah.
Okay.
Because I actually started on Twitch before I started on YouTube, because that appealed to me more.
Gotcha. Yeah. Do you remember the bit where they changed it from like they changed the amount that people were getting from, like they made subs regional, and then but they were like, oh, to help you progress, if you stream this number of hours, then you will be able to get this amount of money.
Yes.
They did that just after I'd done 100 days of streaming in a row, and had a subathon. So I was getting like I could unlock a massive monthly. I say massive. It was bigger than my normal paycheck, but I could get that if I streamed, and it was for a whole year if I streamed 100 hours per month. And like you're saying, 100 hours a week you're working. Like I struggled I really struggled doing like streaming 100 or 120 hours per month. And the fact that you're like working 100 hours a week is just, I can't even imagine that.
I mean, it shows your passion.
It does. One thing as well, this is another selfish question because I want to know the answer. Like, how do you separate your streaming content and recording content? Do you record at the same time? Or do you do that separately?
It's funny you say that. I'm literally, I'm always having this battle with myself in my head. So at the moment, it's all entirely separate. But if I was a bit more clever, I would basically have, like, I don't know if you can have two OBSs up or just two different like recording softwares.
I'll give you a plugin that does that records I think it's what you're going to say. It records one source
just
and
the game,
yeah.
rather than yes. That's if I was cleverer, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah.
But luckily for me, like my personality on Twitch is very different to my personality on YouTube. And after meeting up with other creators, so I always thought that I came across as a real like extravagant extra version of myself on Twitch. After meeting up with other people, they said, no, you're just normal Dom on Twitch. On YouTube, you're really serious, really like guide knowledge Dom. Whereas on Twitch, you're your normal crazy zany self. Like that's just what you. I was like, am I? I didn't think I was. I thought I was quite boring. They said no, like you're as wacky in person as you are on Twitch. I was like, oh wow, okay, well, thank you. So it's actually kind of jarring for people that only know me from YouTube that then come and watch my streams because I'm such a different person. So in a way, I actually quite like that they're so separate. And like I tend to stream different games on Twitch as well than what I create guides for on YouTube.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Twitch and sort of how that fits in, but I didn't realize that you actually started on Twitch. Because I was going to ask why you stream on Twitch and not on YouTube, if that's sort of where your content is. But I guess maybe you like the different platforms.
Well, that's it. Like I again, if I was a bit more business brained, I'd be recording and streaming at the same time, and I'd be multi-streaming on both platforms. Like that's honestly like the 2 points you've both just made are perfect. Like that's exactly what I probably should be doing and what I'd advise most people to do. But yeah, at this point, the content has just become so different that like my real like core audience on Twitch know what to expect from me, and I think if I brought that over to YouTube, it might actually hinder me because like it's such different content.
And then people do get alerts. So if you're going live, the people that get alerts for whenever your video is getting uploaded, they might be there wanting wanting your guides. But if they're also getting alerts every day that you're going live, it might be okay. I'll turn those off.
This is it. This is it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. No,
so I'm hoping I might be able to. Sorry, I didn't.
No. Sorry, no, you go for it because I was going to change. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, just really quickly. Like I'm hoping I may be able to, like combine the two a bit better with Monster Hunter because I'm wanting to create beginner guides as a beginner. So I've got like a team of pro friends behind me, behind the scenes, helping me to learn and teaching me the game so that I can then pass them learnings on to other new players. Because like the thing with being really, really good at a game and having thousands of hours in it is you might take something for granted that would be really valuable information to a new player. So there's lots of pros out there that are going to have far more knowledge than me. They're going to make way better guides, but they might miss all of this really vital, valuable information that would be good for beginners. So I'm hoping that this would be a really good way to actually stream my journey as well as the guides. And this is how I can match up the two.
That's the thing with writing guides. It's not just about like, I'm really good at a game. It's like, okay, well, I'm knowledgeable about it, but then how do I make that palatable for someone who doesn't understand it? And it's making that easy and accessible. Like that's the real key to that kind of content, I think.
Yeah.
What are your 3 that you're going to start with? What are the 3 weapons that you're going to go for with Monster Hunter?
What were the answers to the most used and the least used?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So what I've been told are the 3 most used are the Great Sword, the longsword, and I think it was the switch axe. No, it might be the charge blade. It was one of the two switchy weapons. But honestly, the one that appeals to me the most is the insect glaive.
Yes. Now
It sounds so fun.
I know. I started World with the insect glaive and was like, oh, I'm going to be spinning around and this is going to be like super cool.
That's what I want to be.
And then it just did not happen for me.
Maybe
I
you
was
should
like,
watch one of Dom's guides
I
and maybe
probably
it'll
should. I
learn how
probably
to.
It just made no sense to me. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to just use the bow. And so I use the bow and arrow because to me, I'm like, I just point and shoot and it's easy. So as a beginner weapon, I think the bow is very approachable. But then when I played Wilds at Gamescom last year, because you can now have two weapons.
Yeah.
So I then had the insect glaive as the second one, and then just started button mashing, and it was like basically pole dancing all over monsters, and I was like, oh, this is actually really cool. So I'm gonna try and make it work this time.
I'm going twin blade. Always love twin blade. Just really fast.
Oh, yeah.
Doing flips and spinning around. It's great. Yeah. Cannot recommend enough.
I was gonna say
Nice.
that's beginner friendly, isn't it?
It very much is. I can't remember why I like it.
Doesn't
There's
sound
something
it.
else. There's something else that I really like. That's like twin blade. What was the? Have you ever? Have you ever played Destiny? We went back to that.
I've dabbled in Destiny.
Yeah. When there's like a couple of there's a main character, and when you use your ultimate charge, it literally has like dual blades and kind of spins around. So as far as I remember, I'm trying to remember why I like it. I just like the speed of it. It feels great. You don't do loads of damage at once, but you just do, death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
But anyway, you two, you went to play Nightreign.
We did.
I was chatting quite a bit then because I know I'm going to have a little sit back while you two reminisce about your time.
Well, no,
Because
you
I've
can
not
chip in with
Well,
questions.
I've not even played the network test, so
That's true.
you go chat about it.
Sure. Well, Elden Ring Nightreign, just for anyone listening who doesn't know what it is a spin-off of Elden Ring from Software, which is an online co-op game, which is not really necessarily what Elden Ring is. It's kind of Elden Ring meets roguelike elements meets a bit of Fortnite, really, which is quite strange and not really what you'd expect. But yeah, Dom and I met when we got to go and play it early at the preview in Frankfurt. And the thing is, we got chatting like in the airport beforehand, and we're all in a group chatting away about what's your experience, what do you play as, what's your class, whatever else. And then once we land at the other side, and Dom comes up to me and is like, I've heard you're really good, so like I want to be in a team with you. And I'm like, who has been blabbing? Because that is incorrect information.
Sorry, Ed, you are very good. Like people watch you when you stream Souls games because you are very you do struggle with some things, but generally you are a lot better
struggle
than
with
most.
anger problems is what I struggle with.
Yeah.
So I was like, Dom, I don't know where you've got that from, especially as you're the expert making guides. Like you're the person I want to be with. So yes, we got put into groups of 3, and I was like, Dom, I gave you the eye. Like...
We both, it was amazing, wasn't it? Because all 12, 13, 14 of us were stood round in a group, and I think we were pretty much directly opposite each other, and it was a large circle. So every single other person just saw me and Ed lock eyes and just be like, they're all like, oh God.
The thing is, it worked because I'm going to brag. Our team was the first one to finish it. And it became like an esports competition because it was the Europe preview. So there were UK journalists, but then there were French and German and Italian.
German as well, yeah.
Yeah. All in different groups. And obviously it ended up being by nationality. So we're all trying to beat each other. And you could just hear cheers around the room as like people celebrated and finished it. But we were the first, which I'm very pleased with. We had a huge crowd of like all the PRs and devs behind us watching.
I was just going to say, when we beat Gladius, because we're all on voice comms as well, they've hooked us all up using the, I believe it was PlayStation's app voice thing, wasn't it? Yeah, their own voice communication system built into the PlayStation. So we could just about hear each other over the noise.
Yeah.
And then I look over and Ed just goes, turn around, look behind you. And we have just got like 20 people stood behind us. I'm like, I am so glad I didn't notice them before.
Yeah.
That would have, I would have had stage fright.
Absolutely. So what did you know about Nightreign beforehand? And was it what you expected it to be?
God, that's a really good question. What did I know about it beforehand? I want to say nothing. I think I intentionally kept myself quite in the dark about it. Um, I'd heard that it was like what you just described it as, like rogue-like, roguelite, um, battle royale, Fortnite, co-op multiplayer, but like describing it as any of them things kind of isn't doing it justice, because it's so
Mm.
much more than that as well. Like it takes all of them, but then it's also its own thing. And it's so hard to describe, because if you use any of them buzzwords, you might put people off of its true value.
Yeah. I mean, I put
So
Fortnite in the preview, but just because it's sort of
like,
shorthand for like there's a storm.
yeah, yeah, and
But
that's
it's
yeah,
just
exactly.
like you say, there's a lot more to it than just that.
So yeah, I think I knew pretty much nothing going into it, apart from the fact that there was a battle bus hawk that dropped you into a zone, and then there was a ring of fire. And at first I was thinking, oh God, this isn't going to be for me. And then we got playing. I thought, this is one of the most fun games I have ever played,
Yeah.
because it's just fun. It doesn't try. It's just fun. It just tries to give you fun, and that's what it delivers.
Yeah. Do you tend to play Elden Ring co-op? Because I'm very much I'm a solo player. I don't summon people. I summon my own mimic, obviously, because why would you not? But I don't summon other people.
You did for the final boss, didn't you?
Well, okay, so fine, I'll get into it. So the final boss of Elden Ring, is in the final pairing. I won't spoil it in case
Radabeast.
people, yes. I just got really frustrated and I couldn't do it. Now, I think a big part of that is because I was playing as a magic build, and I'm pretty sure neither of them are really weak to magic. So it's one of the things that is actually quite tricky as a magic build, is to do that last bit. And I couldn't be able to respec because I'd used the same build throughout. And I just got to the point after hours of, I've spent 110 hours in this game. I want it done now. I'm ready to finish it. And so I basically summoned in 3 people to just do it for me. And I felt absolutely disgusting.
3 people.
Well, yeah, because you're a team of 4, right? Or
In-
wait,
Two people. Teams
Only
of 3.
two.
Yeah.
Oh wait, are you talking? We should wanting.
no, I'm talking about Elden Ring.
Yeah, the
Oh,
end.
no, it is 3.
It was just-
Yeah, 3.
Okay, then fine. It was 2
Oh.
people and there were 3 of us.
Wow.
But yeah, I just sat back and let them do all the work. And then I felt really disgusting and was like, oh, that was a real like anticlimax. So now I'm like, I don't want to summon people. And I have since finished it, doing it on my own.
Are you saying that people
just-
that don't
No,
that
I'm
summon
just
are not playing the game
in case
properly?
there are people who might think that. I have done it on my own. But
It's a
then-
lot harder with other people. I tried that because I was struggling, and then I summoned someone in and did even worse than on my own. Maybe they were bad, but also it buffs up like the difficulty
yeah.
really high.
Yeah, the bosses get massively inflated stats.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the same thing happened for me in Bloodborne. I got to Orphan of Kos in the DLC, which is so difficult. And I was streaming it, and I spent hours trying to do it, couldn't get past it, so went, fuck it, I'm going to summon someone in. I went back to the bonfire or lamppost, whatever it's called, and I summoned someone in who joined, and I was like, great, we're going to have this amazing fight, the 2 of us, like against this boss, and it's going to be, really epic. And he walked in and just one-shotted it with a bugged weapon. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I wanted a really cool fight, and you've just ruined it by bugging the game and just shooting it. So I got really angry. So I'm like, you know what? I just don't want to play with other people.
Hmm.
And obviously, Nightreign is a co-op game, and it's just all about playing with other people. And I was thinking, this is not going to be for me, but I actually really, really enjoyed it, and I didn't
Yeah.
think I would. So yeah, were you similar then? Like,
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like I've done co-op runs on Elden Ring for fun, but my first playthrough is always just me.
yeah,
And like for me, it's I am very anti-elitist. I love people to be able to enjoy their games how they want to enjoy them.
absolutely.
But me personally, I like a challenge.
Mm.
So like I will be an elitist at myself, but at nobody else.
We are
So
very
like yeah,
similar.
Yeah, that's quite like you.
So like I refused any help. I was like, I am gonna beat this by myself. I've done the other Souls games by myself. I can do this by myself. But like if someone came to me and told me they needed help throughout the entire game, my first question would be, did you have fun? If you did, then absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Good on you. So yeah, for that exact reason, I was skeptical at best about the gameplay loop of Nightreign. And it worked really well, in my opinion.
Yeah. Which character were you most drawn to? Because there were 4 characters we could play as. The final game will have
Yeah.
8. So there were 4. There's Wilder, who's a sort of all-rounder. There's the Guardian, who's like the Birdman tank kind of guy. The Recluse, who's the mage, who looks very I was going to say Renala, but I don't mean that. I mean Rani. That's the one. Very sort of Rani coded. And then there's the Duchess, who is sort of almost Bloodborne coded a little bit. Who became my favorite. Who has this like repeat move where she can repeat the last few seconds of damage. So like if you backstab someone, say, you can then repeat that to do like double the damage, which is really fun. So she was my favorite. But who were you drawn to?
So I am very much a fashion souls enjoyer. I sod armor in my game. I just want to look cool. If there's no transmogging, I don't care. I will equip the worst armor set if it looks the best.
Yeah.
And I love the aesthetic of the Guardian. So for that reason, he was initially my favorite. But if you're talking gameplay mechanics, then it's the Duchess hands down, because that restage ability is insane.
Yeah.
Do you think?
And then the fact that she can make everyone invisible as well. It's just so cool. She's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you think it might be nerfed, or is it just that it's just a really enjoyable one to play rather than be super OP?
They're not really known for making big changes like that. So I do think personally she's going to stay as she is. But from the research I've been able to do post playtest, you unlock each of the 8 Night Lords as you beat the previous one. So I imagine the difficulty will actually keep increasing. So she may feel really OP to start with, but actually it's probably going to scale quite nicely for the tougher bosses and the tougher enemies that you discover as you progress through the story.
I still think there's a bit of skill in using that ability at the right time.
Yeah.
It's not that easy necessarily to know. And her other ability is to make the whole team invisible, which you might think, oh, that's really OP as well. But that, I think, has the slowest, I was going to say come down. That's not the right word.
Cool
down. That's
cool down. Or recharge.
I love a come down after.
Exactly. It's got the longest cooldown, I think, of all the abilities. So
I think so.
Like, you can't actually use it that often. And someone like Wilder is such an all-rounder that I think, like, I was first drawn to him because I just found it very approachable. Whereas with Duchess, you've got to know, okay, well, when's the right time to use his abilities? And that requires a little bit more knowledge, I think.
Yeah. And with her ability, it doesn't, so for anyone that hasn't played, so there's no misconceptions, just it sounds really overpowered that your whole team's invisible. Enemies know you still exist, so they will still attack at nothing. So enemies with particularly heavy AoE movesets, they're potentially even more dangerous in this state, because they're just going to be swinging wildly, and they're a bit more erratic because they're not aiming at you, they're just swinging wildly. So it's a lot more of a tactical use than it sounds.
Yeah. I think as well, the Recluse, who is the mage character, I sucked at. I used her once and was like, this is awful, but it's just not necessarily my playstyle. I think people who get to know her will then find her quite OP, maybe, because I think those spells are actually really powerful. You just need to know. It's like, it's this weird mechanic where to replenish your FP, you have to basically suck energy out of enemies or your teammates. And once you get, I don't know if they have to be the same type, but once you've done that 3 times, you can then sort of unleash a powerful spell backwards again.
So it's actually better if they can be the same type, but it's actually better if they're of different types. So the 4 elements are fire, water, lightning, and holy, I believe, are the 4 elements she can absorb. And that means she has, I'm no good at maths, but however many combinations of 3 you can make out of them 4 elements, That's how many different abilities her magic cocktail has. And they
Ah,
all do different things. And somewhere in game, I actually did read the breakdown. It tells you if you've got 2 fire and 1 ice, it does this. If you've got 1 holy, 1 lightning, and 1 fire, it does this. If you've got 3 lightning, it does this. So she has
oh
like
God.
30 different moves. So it's very, very strategic. And
Yeah.
she can be insane. Some of them sounded ridiculously powerful.
Yeah. What was your approach then at the preview, and I guess also with the network test, because it obviously gave us more time? Did you sort of go into it with a specific approach, thinking, I know I'm going to write guide content on this, so I want to really analyze how to play each character? Because I knew I
Oh,
wanted
exactly
to
that.
try each one, and then was like, I'm just going to have a laugh, and then wrote about my experience, which was fine. But I don't know if you kind of went into it with a different mindset.
So, well, the very first thing I did was go and interact with that bell that lets you change class and frantically write notes on every single, like the passive ability, the movement ability, the character skill, the ultimate
We
art.
were told
So
not you can't take screenshots, and
you
we
got
weren't allowed
yeah.
to take pictures of the screen. So we were
So
like,
I
I
was
have to
literally
write
just like
everything.
write as much down as I can, as quick as I can. Yeah, because obviously didn't want to hold up the rest of my team. But like, yeah, there was so much that
Yeah, I
you
was like,
could.
hurry up, Dom, I want to play.
And you're the journalist, shouldn't you be writing this stuff down?
I also wrote it
Okay.
Yeah.
eventually.
Should have worked together and like got notes at the end.
Teamwork. There you
Yeah.
go.
Exactly.
See, neither of us are team players.
No.
Yeah. What's like, so for somebody that's brand new, would you recommend this to somebody who's never played a Souls game? As like, do you think there will be people that play this as their kind of intro? Maybe they love Fortnite. They love, like, I know people say the word Fortnite, and you were saying like people treat it as a bit of a dirty word, but like if you ever play Fortnite, you know the intensity and the stress and like how pretty much every game is different because you start in a different location, you encounter different people, you go to different places. So it's like your own story. It feels very, very different. So there might be people that do love these kind of games and go, hey, you know what? Elden Ring, Dark Souls, I've heard great things about that. And this seems to be some slight variation on it. Do you think it would be approachable to those type of people? And do you think there might be people that then play this and go, hey, this combat and this stuff, it just feels really, really good. I'm going to go and try out the other games.
What do you reckon, Ed?
I think that this is, as a spin-off, people who have played Elden Ring are going to look at it and either go, I'm not interested in multiplayer and won't touch it, which was sort of me, but I've been converted. Or they're going to go, yes, I love Elden Ring, I want more, and they'll play anything. In which case, this is great and it is a lot of fun. I think if you're not interested in Elden Ring, I think you might struggle with playing this. I think one of the big differences between Nightreign and the base game, I think, is speed, because you have like a super fast sprint. You can
No fall damages.
there's no fall damage. You can parkour up walls and things. So it's all about how quickly can you level up, how quickly can you spec your character and find a build that works for you. And I think that because we've played Elden Ring before, I think we jumped into that quite quickly. And I think if you're a brand new player, you're maybe not going to know your way around as much. And you might, the weapons are randomized. So you might then pick up a random weapon and go, well, I don't really know how this works. And that might take a bit of time to be like, okay, well, this greatsword is best used with, I always say double fisting, but with two hands. Or, maybe, yeah. Or maybe you'd rather be sword and shield, or like, oh, I've got this staff, but I don't know what this spell does. And I think because we've played it before, it's very easy to pick it up and go, right, I know what that is. And that means I'm now going to go for a bleed build. So now if I get this and this, I can do that. And that takes time to learn. And I think Nightreign isn't a learning experience necessarily.
But maybe Dom's channel is.
Well, that's when you go to
Yeah.
Dom's Roundtable and you read about what's the build I should have.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad I passed the question over to you first now, because I had not thought of it from that perspective. And it's a really, really good point, because initially I was going to say that the view I was taking on that question was, well, it's all multiplayer. So if the team only has one weak link, but the two other people kind of know what they're doing, it doesn't matter. You can probably carry them to the end. But does that necessarily mean they're going to have a fun play experience if they're just being carried the whole way and they don't get to do anything themselves and they don't get to grow and learn? Because it is a very intense environment to learn in.
Yeah.
Very intense. So yeah, from that perspective, though, luckily they do have this. I think they call it the sparring ground. And in the sparring ground, you literally can go and try every single weapon in the game, and it shows you that, like, shows you your character's move set and like all your abilities and stuff. So that's very beginner friendly. But not many people want to sit there and just hit a dummy for 3 hours before getting into the game.
I hate
Yeah.
those. What did you think? Because you, when it was the network test, I know you had a team that were really good, and then I think you died in the final boss. But then afterwards, you went in and you were like, "Oh, these guys are hopeless. This is terrible." And luckily, you had your hair, and then you had your hair appointment coming up, and you're like, "Oh, we'll be finished in no time." So these guys
I had a haircut. It was very important.
Yeah, and there was like one person that was a million miles away, not doing anything, a bit AFK. And then what happened?
Oh, and then we beat it. I say I beat it. Well, no, they
Such a
helped.
team
but
player, aren't you?
I am.
Pretty modest as well.
No, the thing, it's not that they were bad. It's just
You were great.
No, I was amazing, obviously. But I think because obviously we played it at the preview, I was like, well, I know what I want to do. And I think I was just surprised the first run I did that the other people also seemed to have a good idea of where to go. And I was like, oh, great. And so we all were kind of on quite a seemingly equal level. And yeah, we got to the Cerberus, Gladius he's called. We got to that and we did really well, but we ended up wiping right near the end. And then yeah, that next round, like we wiped really early. We couldn't get past the first level. We were struggling to find stuff. They didn't seem to know where to go. Maybe it was my fault, but we ran into a cavern. So there are caves in the map. There's the overworld, but there's lots of caverns and dungeons and things.
Can I guess the end of the story? Because I think I did the exact same thing.
Sure.
So you effectively got so into it, searching for stuff and clearing it out entirely, that you forgot that there was an encroaching ring of fire and got trapped in there with the ring of fire.
So I knew that was going to happen. They did not.
Oh no!
So I ran into the cavern thinking, I'll just kill a couple of things, have a potter around, and then I don't want to get stuck. Because obviously, basically, Ben, like the ring of fire is coming. But it's quick. It is quick. And if you're in the overworld, you can run in any direction.
Yeah.
If you're in a dungeon, it's linear and you're stuck underground. And so I did a little bit of it and then run out, knowing the storm was coming, and I got caught in it on my way out. They did not know that. So then they were clearly trying to get through it to the other end. Meanwhile, I got to the boss at the end of the night and was like, cool, I'm just here on my own fighting a demon. This is fine.
If they die, do they get like teleported to you, or can you summon them? You don't go to the resurrection van like in Fortnite, do you?
You go back to the site of grace,
Okay.
I think, but you lose a level.
Yes, so you do. Yeah, go back to the nearest site of grace and lose a level. But from my recollection, if someone has engaged the night boss, they will respawn back with you at the night boss, but they will still have lost a level.
Yeah. So basically, that first day we really struggled, and I was like, "Oh, this is not going to go well." And then we ended up somehow getting to the final boss, but they kept dying, so they just kept rezzing each other while I took all the aggro. And I was playing as the Duchess. I had a bleed weapon, and I was using that repeat thing to just build up the bleed damage as much as possible, which is my favorite thing to do. And we ended up winning. And I was in such a rush because I knew I had to leave and get out. And I was like,
were late,
shall I just die on purpose, like just to get out of this? Because I need to go. I've got plans for the day, and then just whip through it and did it really quickly, which was a surprise. So in terms of balance, hey, maybe it's quite easy.
I was about to say, yeah. Do you think it's easy? Because don't you you had a video, didn't you, saying that you thought it could be a little bit easy?
Yeah, and again, like I was so worried making that point because I didn't want people to think that I meant that in a negative capacity. I was just thinking of that from a longevity standpoint. Like, if I think it's too easy now, even a newer player, when they get more experienced, I believe they're going to think the same thing. Like, if you've got two noobs and a semi-experienced player, then it's a good challenge. It's not an easy game for everyone, but when everyone gets better at this game, and you've got three people who really know what they're doing, if none of the later Night Lords and none of the other bosses they introduce are any more difficult than what we've already faced, it won't be long before everyone just starts wiping the floor with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you? Yeah, because it's like obviously a lot of people are comparing this, and like the people that are going to be playing this are going to be ones that have finished Elden Ring and finished Souls games, maybe. But like I feel like Elden Ring really opened up the fan base. That game is, you can play that game for 10, 12 more hours in a row, and you're enjoying the progress, and you know that there's no chance you can get to another area because you're way too under level. I mean, technically you could go there, whatever, but like that progress and like having something a bit difficult each time is one of the reasons why you can play it for hours and hours. If this is just very repetitive and it's kind of like the same difficulty, could you see yourself playing this game like for 12 hours in a row, or is it something that people would want to just chill with in the evening? Like, what do you think, based on what you've played, how do you think people will just fall off it quite quickly?
I mean, a match is about 40 minutes, maybe.
Hmm.
Because you essentially, the way it works is that you go through 2 days and nights, and then there's a third day, which is the Night Lord, which is essentially the big boss that you're aiming for. And there are 8 Night Lords in the final game, and so one day is about 15 minutes. So yeah, it's about 40 in total to do that cycle. Obviously, if you wipe, then you finish sooner. So in that sense, you can kind of dip in and just do a round for 40 minutes. Or, I mean, we played it for an entire day at the preview, and I'm guessing, Dom, you jumped into more of the network tests.
Every single one I could. I think I missed one.
Yeah. So I think it's possible. I think it's so well made, and the core combat is so good that it is very easy to just lose yourself to it.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
Like,
not 110 hours, but I don't. I think that's because it's not that long.
Mm-hmm. If like I say, if none of the content we haven't seen yet is any more difficult, then I am worried that it will start to get, boring's the wrong word because it's too fun to be boring, but a bit more repetitive. But I trust From, and I feel like the content they haven't yet shown us is really gonna, like, if this is how excited I am already when there's been 4 bosses and 1 Night Lord, when we have twice the amount of classes, 7 times the amount of Night Lords, hopefully triple, quadruple the amount of bosses we've seen so far, like the amount of content we haven't seen yet, I feel like that's going to keep people thirsty for hundreds of hours. I hope. I really hope so.
Is there a reason to keep playing it? Is there like a progress? Because I know there's someone like me. I do quite like a live service game, and I do enjoy, like a battle pass, or at least something that's progressing and improving certain levels, like Call of Duty's multiplayer, for example. I mean, ignore all the other stuff. The weapons that you get, they all start at level 0, and the more matches you play, you can add extra things to them to make them, handle better. And it's that kind of grinding and that kind of repetitiveness. So even if you do lose, you still gain something and make some kind of progress towards something that you're looking forward to. Is there any of that, or do we know?
I'll let Dom talk about relics, because that's one
cool.
thing.
Thank you.
But just to jump in quickly, I think one of my concerns about it, and maybe Dom, you have thoughts as well, in terms of the game's longevity. As we've said, there are 8 Night Lords. I feel like that's essentially the game. And for me, there's so much potential because it's online, because it's randomized, and you're playing these matches. There's so much potential, I think, for this to be a proper live service game. And I kind of wish it was, because then they could just keep adding new Night Lords, keep adding new bosses, new weapons, keep adding to it, especially as they're also taking bosses from the Dark Souls games. So it's not just repeating Elden Ring assets. They're taking bits from other Souls games. There's so much potential for them to just keep adding infinitely to it. Now, maybe that's too much for them to manage. They have said DLC's coming as well. But this is the kind of game, like, I'm not a Fortnite player. I don't play online live service games. I would 100% buy a battle pass for this game and play it on repeat. And it's got so much potential for that. But I don't think that's what they're doing with it, which I actually think is a bit of a missed opportunity. So in terms of the longevity that you were saying, like, I think there's an end point of, I've beaten all the lords, I'm done. And maybe that is a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. There has been some confirmation from Junior Ishizaki that there is a story, there is an overarching story, and each of the 8 Nightfarers, so the characters that you play as, they have a story. And there has also been confirmation that even though there's only technically one map, it changes and new things get added and it changes and that
A
hasn't been
poison swamp.
confirmed. Yeah, yeah,
Because it's a
and
Souls game. Of course, there's a poison swamp.
of course. And it hasn't been confirmed exactly how it changes yet, but I'm assuming that's probably tied into the story progression. So hopefully that's convoluted enough, as From Software's stories usually are, that that will keep you going for longer than the 8 Night Lords themselves. And then, yeah, every time you win or lose a match, depending on how well you've done, you get relics, and you also get a new currency called Merc. And it's been confirmed in the Merc shop. Not only can you like customize your relics and tailor them to different classes, but you can buy cosmetics. There's cosmetics in the game.
So you can
So
look
like
amazing.
I'm praying, like my absolute dream would be a Lady Maria skin from Bloodborne for the Duchess.
Yes.
It fits too perfectly
really
to not
does.
do. It just, oh, I would be in love with that.
But again, give us a battle pass with skins. Like, I'd do
Yeah,
that. I would
yeah.
100% do that. Yeah, and the relics you get, they're basically you can slot them into the character to make it easier for your next run.
Mm-hmm.
So there is sort of like a permanent thing. So I know in a lot of roguelikes, people don't like losing all their progress, but it means that you do have something a little bit more permanent to
Yeah.
keep you going, and you can expand the number of slots and things like that, which is good.
I wonder if they'll have like a unlockable thing for maybe not even a battle pass where it's like kill 10 people, kill 10 Night Lords as the Duchess and you unlock this skin or this, that, and the other, and there's just loads of
Like
achievements.
challenges.
Yeah, challenges, exactly.
Challenges,
Yeah.
yeah.
That'd be cool.
Interesting. Now,
Hang on, I just wanted to get a
Go
little
for it.
bit speculative because so there are 8 Nightfarers, the characters you play as. We know 4 of them. What do you think the other 4 are going to be?
So I reviewed and reviewed and reviewed the trailer meticulously to try and figure it out. The Iron Eye has already been confirmed through the collector's edition character cards. If you look in the back of the collector's edition, there's one that says Iron Eye, and you can match up his cloak to a character you see in the trailer. And then with another thing that Ishizaki said, we've been able to determine that he is the ranger/sniper class. And the only thing we know about him so far is his character. I don't know if his character skill or his ultimate is he can conjure a giant stone pillar beneath his feet and raise himself above his enemies. So, based on the fact that he's a sniper and based on the fact that he can do that, I'm guessing his passive is going to be like, I have the high ground. Like, the higher you are above your enemies, the more, like, your damage multiplier increases.
Nice. So I guess he'll start with a bow.
Yes, he will. Yeah.
Yeah.
So his starting gear is a bow. Yeah. So he's been confirmed. There's one that looks to me like a shinobi ninja type character. You see them in an arena in the trailer that looks very similar to like Moog, Lord of Blood's arena. And you see, I think it's a female character. You see him or her. You see this character doing like a double deflect, which like we've never seen before. Like I'd say the closest game it resembles is Sekiro. And so I feel like that's the Sekiro inspiration character coming in. Another one we've seen glimpses of is he kind of looks like he's like in a big, the bull goat armor set from Elden Ring, the really big tanky one with like the horns on the shoulder pads. He looks very much like him, and he kind of leaps into the air and then slams down on his opponent. So I'm assuming he's going to be like a berserker type class, maybe high risk, high reward. And then as for the final one, I'm hoping that it's going to be like a priest, because they've got a character dedicated to sorceries, but they haven't got one dedicated to incantations. So I'm hoping it's going to be someone who starts with a seal, who can fulfill more of a support role. Maybe they have enhanced healing abilities and stuff like that.
That would be cool. Because the thing is that you've got these characters and you have 3 in a team, but it's not like, I don't know, Final Fantasy 14, where you've got tank, DPS, healer. You don't need that mix, and you can actually have 3 people all the same. So like our
Like
last
we
round,
did.
we had 3 duchesses and just
Mm.
went
You were
all
so
in on like
close to
being
winning.
invisible. I know.
Oh.
So it's not really balanced in that way, but I think having someone who is more of a healer and sort of faith build would be really cool.
Mm.
I also really want them to put in a wretch with just nothing,
So do I.
because that would
Yeah.
also then tick off the sort of hard mode. If
Challenge
it's like,
mode,
yeah,
you know, if you want a really hard character, here's a character that's just a blank slate with nothing, and all you can do is use the weapons that you find.
Yeah.
Like that, I think would be really cool as well. My other question then is like, what other bosses do you want to see? Because we've seen a few, obviously, from what we've saw. There was the Centipede Demon from Dark Souls. There was the Tree Sentinels from Elden Ring. I can't remember half the other ones. So it's a mixture of Souls and Elden Ring. But
Yeah.
who do you want to see return?
Well, I'm praying. I don't know if this will happen. Maybe it will with the DLC, but I'm praying there's going to be at least one iconic boss from each of the franchises, because we already know they're not scared of doing that because the Centipede Demon's in it.
Yeah.
We've seen glimpses of who we all believe to be the Nameless King as well
Yep.
from DS3.
Three,
is?
yep.
Yeah. So I'm like thinking off the top of my head, who's like the most badass boss from like Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, Sekiro, and Bloodborne, and like who would I want the most out of all of them? It's a really good question. There's so many I could see them adding. So
Demon
many.
Soul has to be the Tower Knight with the big shield.
Oh, that would be incredible.
That would be really
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Who have they got
And,
from
like,
Elden Ring?
There's so many.
Well, there's
so
loads.
many from
Oh,
Elden
there's
Ring.
Elden Ring in there, is
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
a big one. As a Night Lord?
Well, so the Night Lord, the only one we know is the Cerberus thing,
Of course, yeah.
and
the mini bosses.
that's new. Like that's a new boss. So I wonder if the Night Lords are all new. But then
Yeah.
at the end of each day, when you fight a boss, which is randomized who you fight
Yeah.
from a limited pool, they're all taken from previous games.
But have they taken some from Elden Ring?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which ones? I'm trying
Yeah.
to think. Can't play
So the Draconic Tree Sentinel,
Yeah.
the Fellowman, Margit, Morgoth,
Yeah.
whichever version you want to say. Yeah. There was a bunch of them, wasn't there? The Stone Golem. Admittedly, he was a roaming boss, not an end of day boss.
Oh, there was the magic.
The Golden Hippo.
Yes, the golden hippos everywhere. Oh, that's
Oh, the
DLC.
Crystallians as well.
The which ones?
Is that the Crystallians? The
Oh yes, like the purple crystal.
yeah,
Okay.
Things.
the purple crystal dudes.
There
yeah.
was the like magic little witchy thing. The sort
the
of duo-
demi-human.
That's the one.
The demi-human duo. Yes.
Interesting.
I think you fight her quite early. You get her staff.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a mixture of those.
Okay.
But then there are others from Demon Soul, from Dark Souls as well. And
I think I need to play
yeah,
them.
I just
So
imagine if also there was the sorry, I have so many ideas. And that's the thing, like because there's so much potential. Because also there was the invasion from Morgoth.
from the Fellowman,
From the- it
Morgoth,
was from-
Margit,
yeah.
whichever one. Yeah.
I reckon again there's a lot of potential with that. What if you're just trundling along and then like Melania invades you? Like that would be super cool.
It would.
What about if you could invade another team?
That would also be very cool.
I've heard people speculating about that actually kind of doing well. What I think would be the most fun, never going to happen, but I love. Do you remember the Left 4 Dead mode where you could play as the special zombies?
I never
did not play that.
did you
I wonder
not?
if it's similar to the Watch Dogs 2 where you can play as an NPC in the game. And they have
So
to
like
try and find you.
basically, so in like Left 4 Dead, Vermintide, any kind of like 4-player team-based game like that, they implemented a mode where like the another team of 3 or 4 players could take over the special zombies that invade at set periods of time.
Nice.
And I had people speculating in my Discord server, what if they implemented that for Nightreign and the field bosses just roaming around were player controlled?
That would be very cool.
Yeah.
That
It would be like
so
the monk
fun.
from Demon Souls.
Yeah.
There's so much potential in this game.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait to play more of it to see what they've done, and
Mhm.
I hope it lives up to all of our speculation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Enjoy.
Something you just said a minute ago as well, Ed, was that obviously based on our experience so far, it's quite likely that each of the 8 Night Lords are all brand new bosses.
Hmm.
because my thought was that the Nameless King was going to be one of the Night Lords.
Yeah.
But that would mean that he's not. He would be maybe an end of day 2 boss, or even like an invasion. Maybe he's one of the events.
Yeah.
Because I think you're probably spot on there. I tend to agree that each of the 8 Night Lords is probably a brand new boss that we've never seen before.
And what you said earlier as well about there being story, because I didn't clock, actually. I need to find your sources. I didn't clock that there was so much story or lore.
Yeah.
In which case, if they've all got their own lore, surely they're new and they're unique. The Night Lords, and there's maybe a story behind each one as to which one you choose. So yeah, that would allow them to give them story if they're new, rather than it being a repeat of, oh, here's Melania as a Night Lord or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to play it. It's out end of May, so it's not too long to wait.
It's a little while. 3 more months.
Are you going to play it?
I don't know.
You need to do the DLC. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, I'll do the DLC, and then if I've got the urge, then I might. But we'll see. There's just so many games out at the moment.
Watch Tom's guides.
I will learn.
I learn about it.
Looking forward to it. We did say we'd mentioned what you're playing at the moment, and you're apparently playing Rebirth, which is same as me, although I'm doing it for the first time, and I'm at the right now. I don't think I've ever got that far in the original Final Fantasy VII either, so it's all pretty much new to me. How are you enjoying it? How are you finding it? Because you've got this challenge, haven't you?
I've got a challenge run going, yeah. So I've always been a super slow gamer because I love to get so absorbed in the game world. I just like it's always been my one and only hobby. I don't like sports. I don't like TV. Outside's kind of sucky. So I just play games. So I get as sucked into the game world as I possibly can. Because of that, my first 100% playthrough of Rebirth took 222 hours. So I'm now trying to 100% the entire game in less than 100. But I have done some research, I have done some preparation, so I'm fairly confident if I was left to my own devices, I could do it. So as an additional incentive, I've done what I've called the chat versus streamer challenge, and I've basically got stream goals throughout my playthrough, sub goals. And if a sub goal gets hit, an additional debuff gets added to me for the rest of my playthrough. Wow. So it's harder for me to complete.
Oh, how is that going?
That's
so how many hours in are you?
I'm 28 or 29 hours in. I have done all world intel for every area.
Wow.
And I've just started chapter 12. I've skipped almost every single quest for now, because for the 100% you have to redo all the quests on hard mode anyway. And doing them on a hard mode also counts as completed them on normal. So that's like, I would be far more prepared for the late game if I had done all the quests now, but it also would have taken up a lot of time that I can't afford to lose. So I've skipped all the quests. I'm really underleveled. My gear is really underleveled. So the last few chapters are going to be tough, but it saved me a lot of time. But I've basically, my plan was do the first playthrough on easy mode, because I know I'm going to have to do a hard mode playthrough anyway. So anyone who wants to watch for the difficulty, you'll get the difficulty when I have to go into hard mode. I just need to blitz through the first playthrough as quick as I can. But one of my sub-goaling incentives was you're not allowed to use easy mode anymore, Dom. You have to switch it back to normal. And that was hit far sooner than I thought it would be. So it's fucked everything. I had a guide perfectly written of every single thing I need to do in every single chapter to nail it on easy mode. We got to chapter 8, and suddenly I had to change it to normal, and I was like, fuck.
Oh dear.
That's a lot of planning involved in that. That's stressful.
So some of the I've deliberately put them at ridiculously high sub goals that I'll never reach, because some of the later goals that I've got are absolutely disgusting. If I hit, I think it's 1,200 subs in my. So I think we're on about 250 at the moment, which is the 5th goal. And if I get right to the very last one at 1,200, there's a challenge. You know the Chadley Battle Simulator.
Oh yeah.
So when you unlock hard mode, you unlock the brutal and the legendary difficulty challenges, and the very last one you have to do is just Cloud and Sephiroth versus an endless boss rush. And my last goal, because I know it's possible because I've seen someone do it, is I have to solo that last challenge as just Sephiroth.
Oh God. Good luck.
Yeah. It's one to watch.
Oh, and sorry, I forgot to say the main thing. There's a forfeit as well if I don't do this, as an even bigger incentive for chat to actually support the channel. Is I have to gift 100 subscriptions if I don't do it in time.
Wow.
So it's the 100 in 100 or 100 challenge.
Well, I'll make sure I'm in that chat when I get when if you fail.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
horrendous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
I know you're a big you're a big Final Fantasy fan though.
Mhm.
Like for longer, well, it's a longer series than Souls. But I guess when did you first get into Final Fantasy, and which was your first one?
Oh, it was so long ago. I can't remember now. It was definitely my dad that got me into it when I was very, very young, too young to remember. I think my first one that I actually properly played was 7. But I'd dabbled in like 6 and maybe even 5 a little bit because I watched my dad play them. But the first one I really made my own was 7, and because of that, it will always have a special place in my heart. I adore some newer games, and like people always say to me, "Is Elden Ring your favorite game?" I'm like, well, in a way, because it allowed me to do what I do for a living. Like it allowed me to go full time with YouTube, but nothing will ever dethrone FF7 as my favorite game because it was the first game that I ever made an emotional connection with. I can honestly feel myself getting emotional just talking about it because like it was like there's so many heavy hitting moments in it, and it's just an incredible game world.
You've got a lot to come then.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, the first one I got emotional connection to was 10, but yeah, it's I think it's a bit of a Marmite one.
No, a lot of people like 10.
Yeah,
I went off 10 because I decided on PS3 or 4, whichever the HD version was, that I was going to try and platinum it, and then I decided I did not like any of the extra stuff.
Don't
And
platinum games that
and
you
the
love.
Chocobo racing just had me raging, and I thought no. So that made me hate 10.
And the
I
lightning
actually really
dodge.
like the story and the characters of 10.
Yeah,
I just don't like the Chocobo racing. It ruined
that's
it.
fair.
yeah, no, that is very fair. But anyway, Dom, thank you so much for taking time to join us. What are your plans? So you're doing the 100 for 100. Have you got any other plans later on? I mean, obviously the Monster Hunter guides and stuff. Have you got any other things that you're looking forward to for the rest of the year?
Oh God, loads. I mean, it's going to be Monster Hunter for the foreseeable, but like a mixture of for me and for content. Borderlands 4, really excited for that. I just hope it lives up to the hype. There's a lot of ways it could go wrong and could fail, and I just hope it lives up to the hype. Doom Dark Ages. Oh, I'm a huge Doom fan, and I think Dark Ages looks wonderfully metal. So cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a few more as well. But what about you two? What else have you got on the radar? What else are you looking forward to?
I mean, my T-shirt kind of gives it away. I don't know if you know any about Bridges. Death Stranding too.
Oh, of course.
I'm the
yeah.
anti-hardcore gamer. I like a game where I'm just walking. It's nice. I should have it on easy as well, and I'm like, enemies, whatever. I just want to walk and have some beautiful music and have a nice bit of countryside. That's my number one game, I think, for this year.
I'm weirdly looking forward to it, and I did not like Death Stranding 1. I like bits of it, but I didn't overall like it. But I'm really intrigued by the sequel.
It's weird, like Final Fantasy X and Death Stranding. I always presume because I know so many people that really don't like them that I'm like, oh, it's a Marmite game, and then you look at it and actually, I didn't realize how well received by like gamers that Death Stranding was. Because I was always a walking simulator.
Well, I feel like the press reaction was quite mixed, and then the gamers have come back and gone, actually, we really like it. Fuck the press. So there's an element of that.
Maybe. I don't know. People, have you played it, Dom?
I haven't. No, it honestly, like, it looked like a gorgeous game. Loved the story, but the gameplay itself didn't appeal to me because I like a bit more action.
Yeah, there's definitely. Well, it's weird. Like, I won't spoil anything, but there's a moment in there where the gameplay changes to a completely different genre out of nowhere, and I mean, it then goes back, but it's just.
Why does that not surprise me though? As a Kojima game,
Yeah,
of course it does.
I remember playing it, and I had no idea what was gonna. Like, I had no idea that this thing was happening, and I just started playing, and this thing happened. It's like a good 20 hours into the game or 15, and just like, what? Yeah. So I'm looking forward to many more of those moments in the new game.
But I think for me, one of the big ones I'm really looking forward to is Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Yes, yes.
Which is I met the creator of it. I didn't get to play it, but I got to watch him play it, and he was just reeling off like his inspiration, and it was like Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, Persona, Sekiro, Souls, and I'm like, you're just naming my favorite games. Like this looks great. So it's proper old school turn-based JRPG with a world map and turn-based combat, but modernized and fully surreal French artistic world. And yeah, it looks awesome. So I'm really excited about that.
Brilliant. Oh, well,
Same.
thank you so much for for joining and for everybody that's watching. And yeah, I mean, enjoy Monster Hunter. I'm really looking forward to it. And if you want to do any teaming up, let me know, because it's one game that I found just is really good fun playing with friends, because you also don't really need to have a load of communication. You can just kind of, you know where the enemy is, you know where that giant monster is. Let's just go and attack it. And it's just really good fun. So yeah, feel free to join us. We're gonna be playing a lot of it.
Amazing. I will take you up on that offer. Sounds good. And thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Don't wait.
And
yeah,
the offer stands for you with Nightreign as well.
Yeah.
Should we do it?
Me and Ed can carry you through.
Yeah,
I
we'll
will.
carry you.
Okay, deal. When it comes out, let's do a triple stream or something like that.
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Don, where can people find you? I mean, I'll put the links below, but tell everybody.
I'm just at Dom's Roundtable everywhere. I pretty much just operate on YouTube. Well, I do my Twitch streams now as well. Like, I have a Twitter, but I rarely use it. I have a TikTok, but I rarely use it. Actually, recently set up my own website because I'm trying to be seen more as an all-encompassing like game creator rather than just a content creator.
Yeah.
So that, because like you just get taken a bit more seriously by companies. So there is domsroundtable.com as well, that now exists, and any of my new video guides that I create on YouTube, if people don't like the video format and would prefer text-based, they all go up text-based on there as well with helpful screenshots as well.
Really
So I'm trying to build that up too.
That's a great idea. Really good idea.
Nice.
Oh, well, thank you, Ed. Where can we find you?
You can find me at ed_nights most places. Currently streaming Sekiro on Twitch, which is a scream fest.
Very much. And I'm Biggest Bennis pretty much everywhere. And yeah, on Twitch, I am doing I'll be starting Monster Hunter. I've kind of just been treading water a bit until this comes out, because there's I can't really start anything new. We did play A Way Out.
We're doing more co-op games.
Yeah, and I've got a few Let's Plays going on YouTube. There's at the moment it is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and a little bit of 2 Point Museum, and then it'll be Atomfall when that comes out, because I cannot freaking wait for that game. So yeah, go to
Atomfall. That's another great one.
I can't talk about it now, but I'll tell you after.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but yeah, sorry to spoilers to everybody. Well, to teasing everybody that's listening or watching, but I'll be able to tell them very, very soon, in like 2 weeks. So yeah, thanks very much. Go to swappingjoysticks.com, subscribe, rate us, do everything there, whatever. And
give us a review.
And yeah, and like this is actually the first time in a few weeks that we've done the podcast, because we're doing it a little bit more sparingly and making it so we'll be here when we've got guests, or we've got some special episodes, or if we've just got loads to talk about. We're not gonna just rattle them out every week for the sake of it. We're gonna make sure that they are decent, like this one with our fantastic guest.
Yes.
So thanks very much.
Thank you, Dom, and thanks for everyone for watching and listening.
Thank you very much.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.